KFI AM 640. It's Conway Show. Mark Thompson's with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Hendrie. Nice to see you, bub.
Phil
Tim, how are you, man?
Man, oh, man.
Thank
It's
you.
been a long time.
Many, many years, yeah.
And I can't tell you how excited everybody is to have you on KFI again. It really was terrific. It's where I listen to hour after hour after hour of you doing your show. And man, everybody that came in town, from Howard Stern to, even, buddy of mine, Rick Dees, all these guys, all the radio guys, you're sort of like the Norm Macdonald of stand-up comedians, where they all think you're the best.
Venerable?
Yeah, the best.
Like the comic.
Well,
Yeah.
you were on KLSX.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but you were on when they were still like doing music.
I was on
KLSX.
KLSX back in the 80s when they were doing music, but when I was at KFI, you were over at KLSX where they were still doing Free FM.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And before Adam got there, but
That's right. Yeah. Right.
Then
a
they
couple
had
years.
David Lee Roth, and then they said,
Yeah.
okay, well that didn't work out, and they rolled a hand grenade into the studio, and that was the end of that. But,
Yeah, it was Howard Stern. Then they played music all day.
That's right.
And then they went with talk all day. And where the first time I met you was at that radio and TV museum
in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And we were up. I remember being on the rooftop prepping the show and wanting to jump, and then going downstairs and doing the show. I don't know how we did that, but doing a live show, doing what I was doing at live. So you got to make the bit work. You got to make sure you get callers. Meantime, you have an audience that's going.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to do.
And that was the first time in my life I ever saw myself on camera, and it's significant because I thought I was just doing a radio show. I didn't know. I looked at myself and I didn't recognize the guy.
Yeah,
going in and
right.
out of character, moving backwards and forwards away from the microphone, changing ambience, changing facial expressions.
It's great, man.
I thought I had a disease of some kind. I thought I was.
I mean, look, anytime Howard Stern was in town, the first place he wanted to stop was to watch you do the show.
Yeah, he did. That's ostensibly what but it was really for money. But I owed him. No, he did, and Howard was a good. His agent was my agent was David Katz, who was with Buckwald.
Oh, okay.
And that was the group of guys. So I think Howard was just sort of, they told him, would you go and say hi to Phil to make him feel good? Okay.
Yeah, right.
So he'd come into town and hang, and then Karen Sharp from the FM would come over and go, oh, hi, Howard.
Yeah.
And hug him, squeeze his ass. He'd be looking at me like, what is this?
Yeah.
I'm kidding around, Karen.
That's right. Karen Sharp is a huge fan, too.
Karen's
in fact, she texted us yesterday when Ravy was on. But how did the documentary all come together?
Well, quite literally, I was just probably at my house one day petting my cat, and the phone rang, and they said, hi, Phil, this is Pat Reynolds and Jordan Brady. We are a couple of filmmakers, and would you like to have lunch? We'd like to do a documentary about you. I said, sure.
How long ago was this?
This was in 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And in fact, I have a wonderful kid, my godson, Joe Olander, who's also a filmmaker himself. He said, when did they start making this? 2018. What are they just dragging their ass, aren't they?
It's 6 years.
Hey, Pat, he introduced me to a buddy of his. This guy was going to do another movie. I'm kidding.
Right.
I'm actually not kidding, but I blew the guy off. But anyway, so 2018, I go over to this row of beautiful offices and studios at Santa Monica Airport, which is where Pat and Jordan were located. They had a production company, and we had lunch. They said, we'd like to do a documentary about you. And I was saying to Sharon, I'm such a really an honest guy. I didn't want to mess it up by saying, well, let me be a producer too. We can start talking percentages.
Sure.
I thought, wow, if this is a doc, it has to be honest journalism. I'll step away and let you guys do it. I'm flattered that you want to do this movie. So that's what happened. And they began doing the movie. They came out and interviewed me. They got a whole crew of wonderful interviews from guys that blows me away. Henry Rollins and Bill Hader and Judd Apatow. And
I can't believe how many A-list celebrities,
some heavyweight dudes,
and by the way, they don't all just talk about I when I was zipping through the station, I occasionally caught his show. They're all major fans that spend hour after hour, day after day listening to your show.
Well, they would talk about the art of it, especially Henry broke down how he said, now you take the ellipse from one of the words. And what are you talking about, Henry? But he actually talked about the breath control it takes to go in and out of character. And Bill actually went into character as Herb Sewell, one of my characters.
Oh, that's great.
One of his favorite characters, by the way, is a child molester. That's the character. Good going, Bill. No, but I mean, I watched this, and pretty soon you don't want to watch it anymore because you're going, I can't, it's scaring me. This can't be me. It's got to be somebody else.
It was listening to, first of all, obviously, Crozier was a big part of it. Michael
yeah.
Crozier was there for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was telling Crozier, I said, he must have been a really great part of it because working with you, you had to, get it and you had to contribute to the show or you're gone. The next producer comes in. And for him to be there for 3 years, that's a big deal.
Mike contributed. He had a whiteboard. It's the first time I've seen him.
Oh, okay.
He would scribble down lines, and it would trigger us into this insane laughter. And there's a bit on one of the CDs that Mike actually threw one of his writings on the whiteboard, titled the bit.
Oh, that's great.
And as soon as I saw what he'd written, and now I think, and I broke out laughing, and he started. Mike has that high pitched kind of cackle, so you can hear him throughout 3 minutes of this bit. You hear Mike going, and I have a problem, and literally there's Mike.
There it is. Yeah.
I have this problem. Seriously, it's related to narcolepsy. My doctor told me when I laugh too hard, I lose muscular control.
Oh, that's classic.
And so I remember falling on the floor in the studio, and I'm like, "No, please stop! I can't laugh anymore." But Mike, he doesn't care. He's like,
"That's classic."
So
falling over laughing.
Yeah. So
That's
this is
classic.
all in the bit. And Mike and Jonah both were big parts of the show early on when we started there, and
What year did you start here at KFI?
I was.
And
in
wasn't
the
there
fall
two
of-
stints at KFI?
There was a first time I was just doing a regular talk show. I left being a disc jockey. I was dissatisfied. I knew the talk radio was kind of where it was at, so I got this weekend job. George Olivas, who was the early program director, hired me. Okay, Phil, let's see what you can do. And I'm like, this is Phil Hendrie, and good evening. We have Mervyn, some jackass that I brought on. It's a poor man that I brought him as a guest. Tell us about the water system in this country. And about a year of that, they mercifully fired me. You know. And so I had to go out and find my way, and I did a weekend stint at KCAL, which is a rock station in Redlands. Meanwhile, I made a tape with me just pouring it all out there. Just, what would you do, Phil? And I threw it on this tape, and the first person to respond was Diane Rem, the program director, WCAU. She's a legendary program director, great program director, and said the following: Phil, it's fantastic. I can't hire you.
Wow.
And I thought, I'm onto something.
Yes.
CBS 010 in Philly likes the tape and won't hire me. I
Right.
think there's something there. So I just sent this tape. I would go anywhere anybody would hire me. And it was right up the coast in Ventura, this little station, KVEN.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and Rich Galano gave me the best advice he could possibly give me. He said, Phil, just do your show like you're not going to get one phone call. There were days that I didn't, And that freed me up to create whatever I wanted to for 3 hours.
But was that the moment, Phil, that you realized, hey, I can create callers? And at what
happened-
moment did the
That was the
okay.
synchronicity. Is that the word? The synergy there was the Desert Shield. The Desert War was about to start in Kuwait, so we had a buildup of troops in the summer of 1990. American troops over there. Americans were very emotional about it, and I thought that I would come on one day as the host as an Iraqi named Raj Faneen, just to mess with people, right? Hello, my name is Raj Faneen, and people talk about Saddam Hussein. He's a good guy,
Okay.
and he's not a bad guy, and this kind of stuff. Well, my engineer is a kid named Greg Glassman, is in the other studio. Greg Glasser, and he's waving and going, "We're getting phone calls for this Iraqi." I said, "Well, bring him, put him through."
Oh, that's classic.
And so I remember the first guy was like, "Yeah, I'm driving through your little burg here." This cat really thought, and you got people in there when they come on like they're $100 worth of, 5 cents, and this guy's driving to your burg, and where are you from? Yes, Alexandria, Egypt. Uh-huh. Well, let me tell you something. Saddam Hussein's a murderer. No, you're bad. The problem is too much fast food for you. and gradually things got weird.
Yeah.
Oh.
And part of the documentary, I love that the piece they kept in the documentary where after 9/11, where he said, "Oh, I'm going out miniature golfing, and I shot a 36 just to make sure that that the terrorists didn't win."
That was Bobby Dooley. That was my character.
That was great, man.
She was invented here in L.A. as I was driving to work one night to KFI, and I heard a woman on the phone at KABC, and she was talking about the Valley seceding from L.A. That was the big story back then.
Oh yeah,
Right.
sure. Yeah.
And my husband thinks that the Valley should secede, and anything like this. I thought that voice is beautiful,
Yeah.
So that's when I started doing Bobby.
Oh, what a brilliant
Yeah,
character.
Bobby is like the original gated community fascist homeowner association president, and she says, you know, Phil, we're not going to let the terrorists win. We went out, we shot miniature golf. Whatever, dude.
That's classic.
Yeah.
All right, Phil Hendrie is with us. Mark Thompson is with us. Conway Show. We'll come back and talk more with Phil about also his documentary that's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, in fact, Eric, he just texted this. Make sure you tell Conway that we're. No, he basically said it's on every platform. So.
Every platform. Okay. All right. Every platform. You can go out there and see it on every platform.
And the name of the documentary is
Hendrie.
Okay.
Yes.
Just checking.
And Bellio saw it last night. She loved it. Bellio.
I can't wait to
And
check it
Bellio
out.
never looks at anything. Nothing. Phil Hendrie, the new documentary. Everyone's talking about it. Hendrie. It is out on all the platforms. You can see it anywhere. And he's with us. Nice to see you, as always.
Oh, man, it's great to see you, man.
And during the commercial break, we I think it was Bellio or Mark Thompson asked you, where did that that annoying
Bobby Dooley?
Yeah. And that comes from your
mother.
your mom.
Yeah, my mother is Bobby Dooley. The two female characters that I do, Margaret Gray and Bobby Dooley, are two aspects of my mother. I love my mother, but she was kind of a psychopath. So you could look. My mother would look you up and down. You could be telling her, "Mom, I just won the Nobel Prize for chemistry," and she's looking you up and down. She literally say, "Are you gonna get this trim? What are you pointing at, Mom? I just talked about the Nobel Prize. Yeah, no, that's great.
Because there was something patronizing about the way Bobby Dooley would interact, right? And then you'd also do that to interrupt them. It was and that just started, right?
And Bobby, it just started. I just started throwing it, and so Bobby is saying to them, "No, I'm here for you. I'm listening to you." No, you're not. The people go, "Would you shut up?"
That was the best part when they would lose it at Bobby because she was going in the middle there.
And my daughter is in the hospital. She has polio. And another thing, would you stop that or I'll kill you?
That is great. Where did you grow up? Back east?
Arcadia.
Oh, you grew up out here? Okay.
Arcadia, Pasadena. Yeah.
All right. So probably hung out the racetrack once or twice.
I did, bro. In fact, I could hear to this day. I remember watching Gil Stratton. I don't know how many remember Gil Stratton doing "Hello, sports fans," and then I'd run out of my front lawn and listen to Joe Hernandez doing the. Oh,
that's wild.
Yeah.
So you remember like the old, with the green sheet, the old day with the track.
Yeah.
But also there was a news station here in L.A. that would play the replays, so you could bet and then go home and listen on the way home how much you lost.
They did. They did the race of the day or something. Like that.
Exactly.
Maybe back then it was like KNX.
Yeah. But you grew up near the track then.
I grew up behind the track.
Wow.
And then. But one of the houses, we lived in two houses in Arcadia. My dad and mom bought a house that was up above the track, and we snuck in. We would go in underneath the fence as little tiny kids, and then you'd pick up all the tickets that the bettors threw away, and you collected them, and you thought they were worth something. Well, they're not worth anything, Look at all the tickets I've got. They're all losers.
But we used to collect tickets too, and then you go through them, and like one out of every 1,000 would be like, $2.
$2. Yeah,
$2. But now they don't let you do that. It's called Stuppen now, or Stuppen, and they don't let you do that anymore because all the dead tickets go to the security union's benefits.
Okay,
so you can't do that anymore. Yeah. They throw you out of the track now if you collect tickets. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
And across the street from the track was the Jockey Club, as I remember.
Yeah, right. Exactly, yeah.
We tried to break in there once.
But that's when they would get, on a Wednesday, they were open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On a Wednesday, they get 45,000 people out there.
It was amazing, man. It was a great time.
And now they cancel it when it might rain.
I have mixed feelings now about horse racing. I don't want to piss anybody off, but my dear friends are. I grew up in Arcadia, so I've got a buddy who's a trainer. Right. He comes from a family of horsemen. I've got friends who were the sons and daughters of jockeys. It was that kind of a town. Arcadia.
Yeah, it was a small community.
And I learned how to drive at the Santa Anita parking lot.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah. My father taught me to. My father, I'll never forget, he'd take us all out there. Okay, time for you to learn to drive. You know? All right, everybody, let's go. And he had 2 traffic cones, and my poor brother, he's teaching my brother, he goes, okay, that's a little kid, that's an old lady. Park between them. And I'll never forget my poor brother trying to park, and I hear my dad go, you just killed an old lady.
In the documentary, Hendrie, I can't believe all the footage that still exists of you playing records. I mean, you look like you were, 9 years old.
9 years old, yeah. That was KLSX, and and I listened to that, and it's 2 different guys, because in those days I didn't know what I was doing. I was afraid of my own shadow. I wasn't sure that I even belonged, doing a radio show, and I was in my mid-30s, and finally I just said, I better do this. If I want to do this, I knew I had talent, but I knew I had to just I don't know what you'd call it, man. Just run naked into traffic or something, you know.
Right, but you can even tell in the video of you playing records that you couldn't have been more bored doing that.
Oh yeah,
You
I was
know,
very
I mean,
bored.
even at a young age, you couldn't hide it. You know, you put your head down. Oh, Christ, it's Billy Joel again. You know, here we go.
Exactly. And it was a major market gig, man. There's
Yeah.
guys who would die for a gig like that. But
Did you do calls on that show at all, Phil? Like,
No, I didn't.
They were like not even winners of albums or tickets or anything like that. They wouldn't call
I
in.
don't remember.
Yeah.
No, if we did, it was.
But
just,
it was straight.
Hi,
There was
Mary.
no-
It's Phil Hendrie, KLSX. You just won tickets to see Stevie Ray Vaughan. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. What the hell, man?
All right, Phil Hendrie is with us. Mark Thompson as well. Go see the documentary Hendrie. It's everywhere on all platforms.
It is.
Check it out. It's great, and everyone's talking about it. And man, I just enjoy talking during the commercial breaks because we can talk about things and use language you can't talk about on the air, obviously. But you know, just looking back on your career, you know, the big syndication deal. I remember reading. I think it was on LA Radio or Orange County Register. Phil Hendrie signs the biggest syndication deal, of that time. And I thought, man, I was so jealous of how, what a big deal. And that was a huge, big time in your life. I remember running into you, and you were happy as hell. You just had a brand new wife.
I hope so, yeah.
You had a brand new wife, I remember.
Yeah.
You had a big old house out in Westlake, and
Yeah.
it was great. And you acted like you've been in the business for one day. You were always very humble and very interested in whatever else was doing. And it was great to meet you back then when it was like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was like you.
He was only 15, Tim, but that's okay. I realize we've all aged. But yeah, no.
But did you, when your show was syndicated, was that a hassle for you, or did you enjoy it? Because that was a big deal when that happened.
It was a big deal, and I was happy.
Nationwide.
Thank God you have good memories of me back then, because I remember being a basket case, and I was married, and I also had 4 stepchildren. And
I remember that, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and I think it was something about me, maybe it was my Catholic upbringing, thinking you had all of this success, now you got to do something good. Okay, most guys would say, "Look at all the. Let's go out and let's go bar hopping and
Sure.
see how many women we can get in one 3-hour period." But no, I decided I'd get married and take care of 4 children, and I'd buy a big house, and oh yeah, on top of that, have this radio show, and on top of that, a radio show where I have to invent these guests and have people call in, and I'm surprised that I didn't develop some tumor or something, but I was having a ball, and but it was a lot of pressure, man, and I think the life that I picked out for myself, it probably could have been easier,
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we had some great shows, and we had a lot of good times
Oh, yeah.
doing those shows. And then, we'd go out and do remotes. And the places we were popular, L.A., Miami, but Salt Lake City. Now, why?
Oh, that's wild.
My
that
show
is
was
interesting.
huge in Salt Lake City. It was huge in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was just, I don't know how you get these pockets of fans. But
Phil Hendrie is with us. Your love for radio is exactly mine when I was a kid. I was punished a lot as a kid. So I wasn't a big fan of music. So I'd be sent to my room after school, come down and eat dinner and then right back to your room. And I'd listen to talk radio all the time.
Yeah.
And my grandparents did, my dad did, my mom did. But even listening to stories of you, like with Casey Kasem.
Yeah.
And, those are the guys that were bigger than life. You heard them on radio. You heard them coming out of the speakers of your home and your car. And then to meet them it's like meeting, your favorite athlete in the world. I mean, these guys were bigger than life.
they were, man. They were, the things they knew how to do, you wanted to know how to do. You want to know how to talk up a record, hit the post perfectly, how to be so fluent. And I saw Casey Kasem when I was 13. I used to ride my bike to the Huntington Sheraton Hotel, which is now the Langham Hotel, and go in there, and I'd see him working. And he'd say, "Hi, kids, how are you? I'll come out and talk to you in just a minute. I'm Casey Kasem." And he'd come out, and this is how short I was then. I was looking up at him at almost a 45-degree angle. And Casey wasn't the biggest guy.
Yeah, not
I
a tall man, no.
and there I was. But I watched him working professionally, and then later got to know him when we were all over at Westwood One, and at Premiere. He was at Premiere. And he'd say, "So you knew me? Yeah, funny, I don't remember you at all. Thanks." So actually,
Excuse me, I'm trying to get through here.
I'm trying to get. Yeah, is this seat being used? So actually, I remembered him from. We did a shot at KCET 28. Remember back when KCET would do fundraisers?
Sure, yeah,
And one
yeah.
weekend they got radio guys. Let's do the radio guys. You guys are glib, sure. And I sat next to him. And Casey was such a pro. I'm going, and Channel 28 would like to have your money.
Oh,
and
that's
then
great.
Casey would go, and then you can donate your money to Channel 28. Right, Phil? He turns to me and he defers to me. I go, yeah, that's right, Casey.
All right, this piece we're going to play for people who are young, may not have got to listen to you as often as Mark and I did, and also to Crozier. This piece is the burning bugs piece.
Burning bugs. Yeah.
Okay, all right, this is great. Does this need a setup, or is we just
Should we set it up, Mike, or did?
Mike?
No, it should be pretty good self-contained.
All right, here we go.
We're talking with this gentleman who went to a accident scene in Pasadena on the 210 this afternoon and attempted to, in his words, assist in the investigation because it was a female officer, what he thought was a junior officer. What, you were collecting evidence?
Yeah, that's right, Phil. I keep a magnifying glass in my car. And
Wait a second. This is a police investigation of a scene at an accident.
that is correct, yes.
You're retired?
Yes, sir, I am retired, and I have spent my life loving this country and supporting our police. What I did was, after the officer told me to back off, I went to my car and I got out my magnifying glass and immediately went to work on the crime scene. I got on my hands and knees and began just analyzing the asphalt behind my car because I didn't want to piss the cop off.
But you were nowhere near the scene.
No, I was not near the crime scene at that particular point. What I thought I would do was do a little, basic investigation behind the scene. For a while, I was on my hands and knees looking for evidence. Then I got bored.
You're Crozier in the back.
I just think the same thing's happening to me now. What happened? People tuning in. What are they doing?
Okay, wait a second. You were doing what?
For a while, I was on my hands and knees analyzing evidence with the magnifying glass. Then I got bored and started burning bugs.
Oh, that's great.
Well, that's great.
That's so great, man. That's great. That is so awesome. You can hear Crozier in the background, man.
He did that. Mike had that whiteboard, and he would write down all kinds of stuff, man. Would put me away.
Well, you remember I got Disney. They pulled their advertising from us for a good 6 months because we did the bit about that we did funerals on Tom Sawyer Island in Disneyland. and I played the "Now It's Time to Say," and then you took your paper and you did this like it was flames. And
What they did was
the old Mickey Mouse theme out.
You can take your loved one over to whatever it was, Tom Sawyer's Island, on a burning funeral pyre, and you'd have the characters standing around. Mickey Mouse is like, yeah. We did the fire sound effects.
Oh, that's great. All right, Phil Hendrie is with us. Go watch Hendrie. It's on all the platforms. Great documentary. Our own Michael Crozier's in it as well. You'll recognize
And there are a bunch
him.
of bits. I mean, if you like the Hendrie bits,
Yeah.
they animate a bunch.
Those
It's really funny.
The documentary Hendrie is out there, and everyone's talking about it. Everybody has seen it. Bellio's looked at it. She doesn't look at anything. Nothing.
There's so many funny bits, and I wanted to. We were talking about this before, Tim, when we were just kind of hanging out. The fact that there's so many people who are in the documentary who are like famous celebrities and also very funny people. Bill Hader is one of them. There are a ton of them. Judd Apatow, et cetera. And what I was saying to you, Phil, is that it's one thing for them to be listeners. I mean, after all, you were on in Los Angeles where they could listen to you, but they weren't just listeners. They were fans. They reached out to you. You told me Dwight Yoakam called you.
Dwight Yoakam, Dwight, if you're out there, how come you stopped calling? That's kind of interesting. But anyway, it was great knowing you, Dwight, all those 5 minutes ago. But yeah, there were, and we had cats, and I don't think I'm talking out of school. We had guys calling us. Jonah Weiland was my producer at the time, and Mike knows this. He'd come around and go, the guys from Just Shoot Me called again. And they've got another idea for you. Remember the show Just Shoot Me?
Yeah.
The writers would be calling in, and they'd be hearing our bits,
that's
and
great.
they'd be suggesting ideas on how to move
that's awesome.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
and
Neil Patrick Harris, he would call in all the time.
Neil Patrick Harris called it
Wow.
all the time, and I don't know who else, man, but
Groening.
who?
Matt Groening.
Matt Groening. Matt Groening invited us over to Simpsons. We had all the guys, Jonah and Mike and I went over to the Simpsons and watched them
That's classic,
do
man.
a thing, and I think Matt got disappointed in me because I became a warmonger, just for laughs.
What
But,
was your relationship with Stern? When he came
well,
out here, did you guys go out and have drinks
No,
and dinner?
I mean Howard was a professional acquaintance, but a good man, a nice man, and liked what I did, and of course I respected what he was able to achieve in his life and career. But he came out here primarily for women, and also no, he came out here primarily probably for. But he was with Don Buchwald, who was his agent, and my agent worked for Don, so we'd have lunch. In fact, we were having lunch one day at a hotel, and he found out that Rosie O'Donnell, I think, was upstairs and wanted to get into a bellhop hat and bust into her room, but it didn't happen.
And so where did you end up now? You're up in. Do you talk about where you live?
Yeah, I'm up in Ventura and have a home about a block off the sand there because I don't want to be too ostentatious.
Sure.
And
but it's so great up there. You know, we were talking during the break when it's 115 in the valley.
Yeah, it's nice.
We drive up there and you got to put a sweater on.
It's beautiful.
68 degrees,
and it's kind of almost Central Coast, man. It's almost like not. And so there's a lot of sea lions. There's a lot of fog.
Yeah.
You know, it's very Cape Cod-ish and. I dig it. The only thing I don't like is that it's so bloody far away from working in L.A. You know, I have to give myself 2 hours every time I go anywhere. You know?
Like we asked you to come on the show, and you thought it was at 7:30.
I thought it was at 7:30, and I'm sitting around in my underwear, and I'm petting the cat, and I'm like, well, time for another Milky Way, I think. Have fun. Okay, let's see. And I'm scrolling my phone looking for naked pictures or something, and there it says Phil Hendrie at 5, and you should have seen me move as fast as I could, man. I jumped in the car. Thank God it was like 3 o'clock, and anyway, it'd take me 2 hours.
Right, because it could be a 2-hour drive.
Exactly. And I got here with 20 minutes to spare, sure, and something like that. Yeah.
But you know, Phil's getting more on-camera work. He was saying, like he's in, Grey's Anatomy and various.
Well, they just did Grey's Anatomy was just on, in fact, and that's a great example. They shoot that at a place called what is the name of the studio again?
You're talking about Prospect
Studios, which is as far
ABC used to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's as far into East LA, at East Hollywood as you can get. And I'm out there, and so for a 6:30 call, I got to get out of bed and get in the car by 4:30 a.m.
Easily, yeah.
And I'm getting off the freeway, and I'm going over there. So, not that I'm not complaining, folks, that I had a TV shot, Grey's Anatomy. I don't think I'll take those gigs anymore. They're just too far away.
Yeah. You guys come to me.
That would be nice. But the inconsideration of these jackasses just kills me. But no, it was great. But yeah, it's pretty early to go to work, so it would be nice to move closer to town, move back to where I grew up.
But it is nice to, it is like the Central Coast up there.
It is.
And you'll find, and I'm sure this has happened to you, you'll find a local bar where locals go, and you can, you get right into with them, and man, the stories are great.
The stories are, and our little restaurant up there is a place called Quincy Street that's owned by a stuntman, Denny.
Oh, okay.
Denny and his wife Karen, they own this place, and so he's got pictures of himself.
Oh, that's classic.
And I'll come in, Denny, how you doing, baby? It's great. Hey, look at this, Phil, and he'll show me a video of himself getting blown out of a car. Or something. What happened? I'm fine. I'm conscious now. I browned out. He's showing me this video of himself where a car door explodes and hits him as he's walking away. And I said, "Are you all right?" He said, I'm pretty sure I am. When did that happen? 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Wow. Oh, so he's still working as a stuntman.
Oh, he's still working, yeah. And he and his wife own the restaurant, and he's got pictures of himself with John Travolta. It's a typical, cool little restaurant to go and throw back a Long Island iced tea, and they're deadly up there, by the way, so I recommend them.
But that's a great place to get out of Hollywood, get out of Los Angeles, and it's almost like going back to Maine or the East Coast, where everything is nautical. There's old ropes, there's old sailboat parts, and
there's even some old guys. There's old guys will be sitting at the bar and how you doing, Phil? You still got your? Oh, I got the 42-foot California. Yeah, we're gonna go over to the Cove and I just do you relax over there, huh? I relax. And, I'm not gonna tell you about it.
Hey T.
Yeah.
T, can I take a moment here, if you'll indulge me? Because this is I watched the documentary last week, and the second it came on, and I told my wife, my second wife, not the one that I was with you, Phil.
Okay,
but
I understand.
I told her so many stories from working with you in the time, and it totally took me back watching the documentary, and it was incredible for me. And I wanted to take the moment now that I know that both Tim and you are in the studio. Excuse me. To say that, I like you guys, a little bit younger than you guys, not too much, but I had this love of radio too, and I grew up in D.C. with guys out there. And when I came out here, and you were on KFI the first time, and I was working here at the time because I started in '88, and I had mentioned to you that because I was answering phones at the time, and I heard you on a weekend, and I just said, dude, I absolutely love the way you sound on the radio, and you were just doing regular straight talk.
Right, yeah.
And then when you were gone, and when you came back, and I had the unbelievable ability and fortune to work with you, it crystallized to me why I love radio. And and at that time I kind of was doing my thing as far as trying to get into acting, and I wasn't there 5 days a week, but the things that I did with the groundlings and stuff like that allowed me. But everything that you became and did, and in retrospect, I see the pressure that you had, and you even put on yourself doing that show. We knew at the time that it was something special, and the one thing, regardless of the characters, the shtick, and all that stuff that you showed me on how to be in radio was the emotional honesty that you put out there. And I think that's what really connects me also with Tim is that working with both of you guys, I know what the best radio is because of guys like you.
I love you, brother. Thank you for that,
Buddy,
man.
you're
I
the
appreciate
best.
it. And I remember you, Mike. Michael came out here. I don't think I'm talking out of school. Mike was living out of his car when he first got to LA.
Yeah.
And he said to me one night, he said, I was sleeping on a park bench, and this guy was approaching me. I was half awake. I knew this guy was coming up to me, and I'm thinking, now I got to kill this guy.
Yes.
Remember that, Mike?
Oh, I gotta kill this guy.
I think the guy walked past you or something, but you're thinking,
that's
here I am,
great.
I'm 19 years old. I know I'm handsome. I'm good looking. Here comes a guy. I'm going to have to kill a man now.
Crozier is the best.
And and Phil, you were the only guy I think on this planet that actually calls me Mike.
Oh, serious? Oh, it's
love
old
it.
school,
And
man.
I'm
It
cool
really
with
is
that.
old
Yeah,
school. I'm
man.
sorry about
But
that.
I can't thank you enough for
Thank
coming
you
by.
So much
Great
fun,
to see
Phil.
you
So
cats
great.
again,
Please
brother.
come by more often.
Well, I will.
Congrats
I'll
on the
knock
move
on the
on
door. I don't know if you guys will answer, but I'll be down there
Please.
going,
Hi.
Phil Hendrie, go out and watch it tonight. Henry,
you.
it's everywhere on all platforms. Great documentary. It's the Conway Show. Mark Thompson's with us. We're live on KFI AM 640.